Nicole's saying I gave her COVID, by the way. Like, I was being accused of giving her COVID and being asymptomatic, and I was like, this is wild. Why am I getting blamed for COVID right now?
All I said was that was a possibility. It could have been anybody.
Like,
I don't even
boosted.
have COVID.
I am such a clean person. I wash my hands every time I'm in the bathroom, and I'm getting accused of COVID. And what the fuck? Holy shit! And it was mosquito disease.
It was just the
skater. Mosquito disease is so crazy.
Welcome, everyone. This is the Attach and Pass podcast. I am Nikki. I am your co-host. We're here with Jake. We're here with Nicole. And we're here with Dre Alderette, actually. So I'm going to say hi to all of you. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How's everybody?
I'm feeling good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And thank you for joining us, Dre. We're very excited to have you. Jake, how are you?
Fine as always.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing great as well. So yeah, this is actually a pretty cool episode because Dre is our first guest, but also Nicole, you're now also officially a guest too.
Yeah. So as of today, I have officially accepted a spot on Team Girl Power Pro. And I'm very excited to take that. Sad to, be taking myself away, a little bit from my family here, but, I'm also never going to truly, leave my family. I just have to go and put on a new jersey and work with some new people. I'm really excited to do that. It's bittersweet, by definition, but I'm very excited, very proud of that. And shout out to Girl Power Pro. I'm very excited to get to work this year. So yeah.
Awesome. And Dre, you also actually are in a new position as well, right?
Yeah, so former shuffle squad but I figured after 2 years I've kind of feel like I've run my course there. So decided that I wanted to, take a step. I feel like I never got to weigh my options because I feel like it's almost as soon as I signed on to Shuffle Squad 2 years ago, at the end of my first season, I've been bombarded left and right by other teams, other sponsors, whether it's cards, sleeves, companies and stuff like that. I just couldn't listen because I just had deep loyalty, especially because shout out to Zach Lesage, it's my boy. So I just didn't feel like I wanted to do anything like that. But he's always been a firm believer that I should go wherever I go do what's best for me, whether it's getting a bigger bag or if it's just exploring other options. He's always been a supporter of that. So yeah, I'm excited to see. I mean, I announced my free agency after NAIC. My DMs have been crazy ever since. I'm not jumping onto any kind of, so there's no sorry, unfortunately I don't have any kind of announcement yet that I can spill early for the pod. Otherwise I would, but yeah, definitely going to be being a little bit more patient and weighing my options before I go into signing a new deal with any other team or with any sponsor. So it's really fun though. It's really cool seeing how sought after my brand is after all. I just as myself, not just as Dre the Shuffle Squad member, but just Dre the player and online personality, which is pretty cool.
That is so cool, honestly.
I'll say, so I started playing back in 2023, and I think yours is a name I've known since about around when I started. Really I've definitely heard of you since the beginning of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And when I was going to say, it must be, and you kind of touched on it, but it must be, feel empowering to, feel the desire for people to, have you on their squad, that has to be empowering. And, that's kind of a new wind behind you into this coming season. I like that you're taking the time to, soak that in and like you said, see all your options and don't limit yourself. So I think that approach is awesome. And I'm really happy that that's, going the way that it is. That's really awesome.
Thank you. And by the way, Nicole, congratulations on your new team. So
Thank you.
I know
Thank you so
I know
much.
you're gonna do great things over there. I've known about Girl Power has been around since like I first started too. So it's really awesome to see them taking the shift from just being not just like a community faction, but now like actually taking it serious as a team. So I'm excited to see what you guys do over there.
Yeah, I'm more than excited. I'm honestly I'm very proud. There's a sense of pride that came along with today, but the excitement, the anticipation of getting to work with this new crew. I think we're going to do really really big things. So thank you, and I think you're going to do great things this season too. Of
Thank you.
course.
That's
Yeah.
I think that's like one of like the exciting things during the off season, because I've seen this happen multiple times. Usually in the off season, everyone's shifting around, changing where they're at, changing what they're doing, changing their goals. So it's exciting to see where everyone kind of goes with all that.
And that just makes sense, right? It's the natural course of things. I think like immediately once the season ends for the player itself, which obviously that's why we're all here. Our season's ended this weekend. That you're going to look at your options and think, well, what can I do to improve, right? So this last weekend was NAIC. So I guess we could talk about NAIC a bit. Jake, you didn't go. I know. I saw
I
that
did not
nod.
go. I watched it. I watched all of it. It was good. It was a good
I was
watch.
actually going to ask, how was the stream, because I didn't watch any of it yet.
No,
Oh, the
I
stream
didn't
was
watch it.
fantastic. They did a great job of picking like which players, which games were up.
Yeah.
Like there was a lot of excitement in it. Honestly, watch it back.
No, I plan on it. That's yeah. I did want to ask because, I knew that we were just going to kind of gloss over you, but at least you could give that insight because yeah, I haven't watched yet.
I will say, sadly, like even as somebody that enjoys the deck Gardevoir EX, the finals being a mirror is a little lackluster compared to literally the rest of the fantastic games. But I digress there.
I can appreciate a mirror. I know we're tired of the Gardevoir mirror, but I can appreciate just how much skill goes into it. But I hear you. For the viewer's sake, I can get where you're coming from. Yeah. Um, I I ended up going 1-3 drop at NAIC.
Let's go.
So I played EV Box, and that was the worst tournament of my season. Close to Toronto. I think this was a little worse. I mean, I never want to lean on prizing. I know how to prize check, to a extent that I'm comfortable with, and I identified my prizing. Unfortunately, my prizing was so bad at points that even knowing, oh, I have my sparkling crystal prized and my 2 Flareon EX prized. Okay, okay, all right. So that's like that happened several times, and I only played 4 rounds, so it was a really rough weekend. And again, like truthfully, I'll admit, like that kind of illuminated a crack in my game that I need to work on, and that is like just being a bit more flexible. I think like being critical of myself, being disciplined. Like I think I put a better player in that situation and they probably have a better result. So that's something I do just have to work on. And I can honestly appreciate that I have, seen that now through, I hate that it happened at the most important tournament of the season for me at that point. But unfortunately, that's what happened. And if I'm going to work with that now, the fact is that showed me in one way something to work on. So that's really kind of been my post NAIC experience, is really just processing the good and the bad of the season and looking to use that as guidance to what to work on in the off season. For one, I know I'm going to be working on like, again, I know how to price check, but I think price checking more efficiently, as well as again flexibility and like you
Adapting
can't
your game
just.
plan.
Yes, I think that's a perfect way of summing it. Yeah. So just a couple examples. But yeah, I had a great time. NAIC was a blast. Outside of the main event for me, I mean, all of my opponents were like super cool. Like it was fun. Like the tournament was great. I honestly
Yeah.
had an amazing time in New Orleans.
I mean, do any of y'all actually remember after the event?
I
only
remember
went
so
out
much.
one night. I only went out one night. Thank you.
Yeah, my after event to both nights were like really really insane. So
Yeah, mine was Yeah, I mean, Nicole can tell you I was laying on the bathroom floor at one point in the hotel room with a towel as my pillow. So
Yeah, it
that's
happens.
how one of my nights ended up.
But you had people there who were taking care of you. You were
Yeah,
safe, and
that's
here
all
we
that
are.
matters.
Here
And
we
here I
are. We're all
am.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah. My run was 4-4-1. I did Poltzard with a line of Noir in it. It was a choice. I actually really liked that deck. It was a lot of fun to play. I just think that my Draga cloaks were unionizing. They were on strike. I could have 3 on the board and they'll just give me nothing. One of my opponents even commented and said, man, I wish all of my opponents drew as bad as you are right now.
Jeez.
And it
That's
was said in
crazy.
jest, of course, but I started off 0-2. And so I was just like, that's my third round. And I was just like, thanks for saying that, because we're both 0-2, but also I'm going to crash out if I don't win these games right now, which I did. And I started climbing back up. But I was knocked out of contention in round 7 for day 2. So, but I still went forward with all 9 rounds because I was trying to maybe get some points. So just to crest me over into 400 points as a personal goal. And honestly, I was sitting there during round 8 thinking about it. I was like, I just like playing Pokemon. Honestly, I love playing this game. Even if my Dracloaks are unionizing against me and they want better pay. It's not happening, by the way. I can only give them so much. They're in the best sleeves in the game. What else can you do, right? So but a lot of it, the draws were bad at the beginning of the day. I know those matchups. I was against a Raging Bolt, and then I was against the Cynthia's Garchomp, but I just could not find anything that I needed. It is what it is. Those were some swift 0-2s I took. And then there was one game in my slew of losses that I definitely know that match I threw entirely. But that was, I think at that point in the day, I was just tired and I was just like, well, this isn't going great. Also, I just don't know what to do in this situation. So it is what it is. I definitely need to improve on my gameplay a little bit better. I need to study my lines a little bit more for next time, I think, because I definitely was a little underprepared, and that was just life stuff kind of coming at me a little bit, making me very busy. And I was trying my best, but I do think that, I need to make sure I'm really buckling down on my lines a little bit better, especially into lesser known matchups. Because I did go through a weird gauntlet of matchups. I didn't play any other Polts. I didn't play any Grimmsnarls, and those were the things I prepped against the most.
Right.
I played 3 Raging Bolts and I beat 2 out of 3 of them. So, but I played a Toedscruel as well. And when 2 Dreepies are prized and Charmanders keep coming out, I guess that's just what you have to deal with at that point against the Toedscruel. So, I tried to work with everything I could, but I had a great time at NAIC regardless. And I just like playing Pokemon. So I played all 9 rounds. So, yeah.
Nice. My run, I ended up being eliminated around 7 as well. I started off 302, so I was in a pretty solid spot, and then my deck decided to just not work once I hit Robin Scholl's round 6.
Oh, no.
He was playing a no hoots Raging Bolt, and I decided to play the Chi-Yu, which should drastically help me in that matchup, especially because I can just counter catch your KO with Ogerpon, throw off their prize map and stuff like that. So but my deck, when I say I don't like to lean on breaking unless I actually did, and Robin Scholl will tell you himself, both games were just not it. I think game 1 I got Candy and I got Mander Dreepy start. Turn 2, Candy Zard, nothing else. He blew up my Zard, and I drew for turn, and I scooped. I had no supporter, nothing like that. Game 2 was, I got set. My first turn was great. Got some Poffins down. Got double Mander, double Dreepy. Turn 2, I can't find. I think I find one Dracloak, and I can't find anything else. I think I'm just sitting on a handful of energy Pokemon. Pokemon that I don't want to use, like Fez, because he didn't KO anything, and Chi-Yu, and just so it was 2 games of just back to back not playing. So against a matchup I thought I feel pretty favored into. So after that matchup, I go into a Grimmsnarl, which I also feel very confident. I had just 2-0'd a Grimmsnarl not too long earlier. So hitting Grimmsnarl, I was like, okay, this is good. I should be good into it. I whiff in game 1 to lose a game. I win game 2, and then game 3, I'm just sitting there, and my deck once again is like, nope, we're not gonna play. So yeah, I think I go like 8 turns with like no supporter played, and I'm just like trying to stay set up. And they played it really well too. They itchy pollinating, taking their time, drawing cards, and like getting really really set up. So kudos to them for playing it correctly. Not letting me come back into the game. But yeah, after that second loss, it was kind of bad. I took a tie against a Guardy, which kind of feels bad since I was playing Poltzard. Should be a favored matchup. Game 1 was really really long. I whiffed a Gust for game 2. I won, and then by the time we started game 3, it was like 2 minutes left. I also mulliganed like 3 times. So like when we actually started, it was like a minute or 45 seconds until time got called. So I was like, yeah. Definitely, it was tough because against that Guardian matchups, like I was definitely favored the whole time, but they didn't. Guardy just can come back just as much as Polt can. So like, it's just a grindy matchup. I hit the only I feel like the only odd matchup I hit that I beat was like a Team Rocket's Wheezing was really interesting. The Team Rocket's Wheezing, yeah. So the Team Rocket's Wheezing it does a blow, like everybody explode now. So it does like a certain amount of damage. Like I think it's like 50 or 60 damage per Pokemon that has a wheezing or coughing in its name. So it doesn't have to be a Team Rocket's one.
40, yeah.
I'm laughing
Yeah.
so much because I had that in my pre-release kit, and I ended up pulling more too. So like I was just like every game just setting up crazy with it. So I can't imagine bringing that to a regional though. That's wild.
I hit one on the ladder when I was practicing, and I was just like, "There's no way someone's actually going to bring this, right?"
Well, there was they also play the Wheezing from 151. Where if you attack into it, you flip a coin, and if it's heads, both Pokemon are knocked out.
Yeah.
So like you hit that thing with your Zard or your Dragapult, it's going down. So I opted to play Prime Catcher as my ace spec, so I just had a lot of gusts. So I just kept gusting and sprinkling. Even like while we were shuffling up, there was like, man, like the only thing I don't want to see is Pult. I'm like, oh well. Sorry about it. But yeah, I mean the tournament itself was kind of a disappointment. I was like 20 points short of being in like the 700, but now that hindsight, maybe being at 700 is not that bad because I'd be stressing something else right now. I'd be stressing if I'm bubbling right now.
Yeah, that's true.
The play points.
I mean, it sucks though because I mean I would much rather be like stressing if I'm getting in or not. Right now I just know that there's no shot. So unfortunately, I just needed 20 points to really be in the mix and couldn't get it done. So it's my 3rd season, first time, and it's my first time whiffing an invite. So it's kind of crazy that I went 2 for 2 in my first 2 seasons. So a little disappointed for sure personally, but like as I take a step back, it's like I'm not. There's definitely people that have gone their whole careers not getting an invite, or they, I've seen people that are like, it's my first invite after 9 years. I'm like, you know what? I just have to do better. It's fine. I can take this 1L, and this is in Anaheim. I'm from California. I'm not after going to Japan and Hawaii, my first 2 worlds. I wasn't too excited about Anaheim or San Francisco being destinations, anyways. So we'll just use this.
You didn't want to go to Disney World after going 0-3 drop.
No, you see, that's Disneyland. I live in Florida now. I live in Florida now, so I can go to Disney World, which I've never been to. Which I will be taking. My fiance and I and our son will probably be going to Legoland or Disney World, instead. Which is, so I'll take that. I'll take that slight win.
Yeah, that'll be so fun. I can definitely resonate. So this was my first competitive season, and so I ended up hitting 600 points, which was like, oh cool, like that's an invite last year, cool, which I'm proud of. Like that's still that's a cool little benchmark.
Definitely.
But having played like more casually in the past, like I still like went to regionals here and there. I just didn't have the same resources, the same experience, and not really the same money to put up, to travel those seasons. So this was my first full push, and I could tell like the difference in just like the competitive nature this season compared to other ones that the top X system brought. It made a big impact, and I think like honestly that for me, like I think it threw me off early on. I felt like to me, like I went to, again, regionals previously, I would hit far more like casual players throughout the day. And, even at similar records, like,
Yeah,
like
that's
let's just
true.
say I went like 5-4, 2 years ago, and then like this year, or even just last year and then this year. Um, the opponents you're hitting at that record are like taking it much more seriously this year on average. And I think that like that really just kind of rang true throughout the whole season. And so I think that was a factor where like, for newer players it was definitely tougher, and like, you've been playing for 3 seasons now, and that makes sense that like it was tougher. And I do wonder like how much of that impact, was seen across the board with like people that are missing invites, and I mentioned, you said, I just have to like be better. And it's tough because I think you ended up mentioning on Twitter, um, where like this was your best season overall in points and like performance overall, and then you
Yeah.
you miss your invites. So like I don't know, like it's tough. Like I know like as competitors, like you and I, like we definitely, and I mean everybody in here's a competitor, but we've said a couple similar things with like, just like we have to like take these losses and like and know how to work with them, and you mentioned just being better. Um that's definitely true, and like we have to hold on to that as competitors, but I think it's definitely worthwhile like recognizing too that like this season was tough. I know, like I think that's just really what I'm making my point at, in a really roundabout way.
Yeah,
This season was tough, and I think like anybody who got a lot of points this season, and you and I mean you were at 680.
yeah,
Okay, so I mean, you're at 680, I'm at 600. That's a lot of points. That's a
Yeah.
lot of points for this
Yeah.
season, and obviously it wasn't good enough, and I'm with you there. But I think like props to you for having a heck of a season. 680. I know it wasn't
thank
enough, but
you.
like that was, that's an awesome push. And
That's incredible, honestly. That's
I mean,
so
yeah,
many
and like like
points.
you said, like it sucks that you get so close. But I also, hope that you can find that being that close now just means that next year you're going to be able to push through.
Yeah,
And
for sure. I mean,
yeah.
it's I'm a sports guy, so like I before this I played competitive sports. I played collegiate and professional football, so it's like it feels a lot like this is the first time I've experienced it in Pokemon because I've made it both years, but like this year it's like it feels so bad because my season's over. I feel like it's so early. So there's no playoff. Like I don't get to go and like try and win a
Right.
championship. Which that's always like it kind of it does have like new motivation because this is a new feeling that I have not gotten because like I said, both years I played previous I've gotten there, so this one is it stings a little different. um the early part of the season was really weird for me because I did go through like a lot of like not just like life things, but then like Pokemon itself was like we were in like a whole different system for the first like trimester of the season,
Yes.
Yeah.
which like my first regional I started 6-1, and like because you needed 21
Yeah.
match points to get day 2 in a 9-round tournament, then it's like I hit a teammate that I normally probably would have just ID'd with, been guaranteed day 2 in round 8, and they could have just played 9 for seeding. But instead, we played it out, and I hit an auto loss, and then I hit another good player
Mm.
playing the exact same day. So I hit 2 like auto losses, piloted by really good players, to put me at 6-3. When in any other instance that would any other part of the season afterwards would have been day 2, and then even LAIC it
Yep.
sucked because like it was I was 5-1, and that's in an 8-round tournament now. That's day 2, and I could have at least competed for better seeding. So instead of getting a I think it was a 128 at LAIC. I could have gotten I could have played for a higher seeding and gotten more points. And so things like that are just circumstantial. Those are things that going into those tournaments, I knew I had to get the match points. I knew what match points were, but then it's so hard to get to this point of the season, and that, man, if we would have just had a consistent system the entire season, I had 3 day 2s that I potentially could have went deeper into and gotten higher placements and gotten, because if you get to play more Pokemon, you have the opportunity to finish higher. It's just how it works. The more rounds of Pokemon you play, then you give yourself the opportunity to place higher. So those 3 tournaments, are gonna haunt me, because I'm like, man, that mid-season rule change sucked so bad.
Yeah. No,
So I actually had the same thing happen in Baltimore. And just to give my perspective, I do not have the time and money to go to a whole lot of regionals. It's usually 2 or 3 a year. So I'm not super on I'm not a super big worlds chaser, but I definitely want to do well at the regionals I can go to, obviously. And Baltimore, I had the same thing happen to me. I hit 621 and my run's just over, and then I didn't go to another regional for another 4 or 5 months. I didn't go to another regional to Atlanta, so I had to just sit there and deal with that.
You would have day 2'd.
I would have.
If the point system was correct, and that's just so annoying. Honestly, it is so annoying, because I remember I went to Baltimore too. We all went to Baltimore, I'm pretty sure, and everyone was IDing on round 2, or gentlemen's agreeing on round 2. I'm sorry, I misspoke there, but it was so stressful. It was so stressful
in a way.
You needed 7-2 for day 2, so nobody wanted to tie.
Yeah.
And I was speed playing in a couple of my matches, and I'm pretty sure it caused some losses. I was missing stuff because I didn't want to tie.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's ultimately what pushed Pokemon to make that change. It was just a combination of I think the biggest factor was just the gentleman's agreements, right? That would at such a large scale, that just was not a good look anymore. And they needed to figure out what to do. And just going back was the easiest thing. I'm kind of hoping they just don't mess with that and just keep it how it is. Don't touch it. It's fine. But yeah, no, I think that's a really good point too. Just talking about how, there were so many adversities this season. That being one of them, that's obviously just out of your control as a competitor. I'm glad they changed it. I'm glad we didn't do that the whole season, for sure. But it feels bad in its own way that it changed too, right? Because you have that inconsistency where,
it's a little bit of
tournaments, it just feels bad. So I think that's a really good point to bring up.
I mean, going as far as the going to the next season though, I think as far as the match points necessary for day 2, depending on an 8-9 round tournament, sure, I don't think we should change that. But I think going into this next season, there needs to be a change in the day 2 run, because we have an extra asymmetrical round theoretically, but we have not used it at all this season. So I think with that being said, we need to add another round into the day 2. We should not be playing 4 rounds in day 2. We should be playing 5. And that's just also going to help with the ASIM. It's going to shrink that ASIM anyways. With that extra round, it's going to close the gap of people with the same match points. It doesn't make sense to be playing an even number of rounds in day 2. It's always going to cause problems, just mathematically. I don't see how, especially in the tournaments where they're 8-round day 1s. We're playing an even amount of rounds. You're going to have way too many people on the same match points, and it's going to create a big asymmetrical cut. So I'd like to see us playing an extra round in day 2. Even just going in my first 2 seasons, the extra rounds in day 2 were really, really pivotal. I mean, I've went into day 2 at 6-2-1 or 6-1-2, and I got to go on runs. In Fresno, I got to go on a run. I think I went 4-1 in day 2, got 16th place. That got me my invite to Japan. And then in Pittsburgh, I took Lost Box, and I think I went same thing. I went in at 6-2-1. I went 4-1 day 2, and I bubbled off of opponent's percentage. I got 17th place. So now it's like I feel I go in at 6-2-1 or 5-2-1. I have no shot at even sniffing top cut for sure. And then I also, I'm one tie away from dropping from potentially being in like top 64 to like top 256.
Yeah.
So I think the extra round,
ridiculous.
giving more room for variance is also needed. So then those drop offs don't feel so harsh as far as final placements go.
Yeah, I agree entirely. Like you can see throughout past seasons and runs that that extra round adds so much to the table. You have people who go, like you said, they could go 6-2-1 and they can spike it then. I mean Andrew Hedrick with I've heard that one run where he won the whole thing, and he was what would have been this season like out of contention entirely because that last round is just cut now. So if you go into day 2 with 6-2-1, because I went in San Antonio, I day 2'd with 6-2-1, and everyone on the team was like, maybe fight it out, but I was like, but I really want a day 2. I was like, I want to play more Pokemon, and I know I won't be able to win then, but I think the value of playing at a higher level is better for me than trying to win right now and then losing that chance. So me and my opponent ID'd, and I got to make it into day 2 then. But that was the trade-off I made, was I knew IDing at that moment and not trying to win against my opponent meant that I was not going to win that tournament. I was just then making a deal with myself pretty much that I'm playing more Pokemon at a higher level then, and hopefully that will allow me to do better, at another tournament. But
which
that
ideally,
is really,
ideally anyone in day 2 should be able to win. I feel like that should be the goal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's not the case with this structure.
Yeah, I really like Dre's idea with just a whole other round. Again, it doesn't make sense to play an even number of rounds. You're right. I think adding that extra round will really just iron out really a lot of this. So, and again, like more Pokemon's good. So another round. I definitely agree with that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and the point structure too. I mean, it did increase all the point structures for us as well, but I mean, they were trying to balance it at the beginning of the season, and that's why we had that 21 threshold for big tournaments and everything. They were trying to balance it out by, well, you get more points if you get to these placements, but the tournaments are getting so big anyway that it didn't matter no matter what. And that's what was stressing everyone out so much. And frankly, people are still stressed about it because you still have people who are going to these big tournaments. And yeah, we have now 19 match points instead of 21 to do this round, to do round 9s. But instead now it's like, well, sure, the point threshold is bigger, but because we get more points now, that means we are running into this problem where Dre has 680 points, which is 80 more points than what he needed to qualify last season. And he's not in Worlds. That's ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. And the points are completely haphazard. Like, Dre, I know you were talking about SPEs a little bit and how heavy they are on points and everything. And they are. I mean, me and Nicole went to Puerto Rico. We saw you there briefly, I'm pretty sure. And, we both did decent enough to get points. I went 4-3-2 and I got 80 points, and I was like, this is a little ridiculous.
Just wild.
Yeah, well, no, that was the thing. So I ended up hitting 64th place exactly, and that I didn't day 2. I literally made the same amount of points as, I forget the exact number. I think there were like, I forget, but there was like a good chunk of people that like played the full day 2 the following day and hit the same number of points as me. And like that concept to me is just mind boggling. Like, so the whole joke was like, Nikki and I were literally out laying in the sun on the beach that following day, like the day that I would have loved to have been playing day 2. And it's like, dang, I literally just made that same number of points as people grinding it out right now. Like that feels bad. Like while it was like, hee hee ha ha, like for me on the beach, like that's not a good competitive environment. Right. So I definitely think like that needs to be looked at.
And
there needs to
I'll
be a
say
scaling process of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's as somebody that like can't really afford to go to every regional. I mean, like if I ever wanted to try to even get close to like, worlds chasing or anything, it's just out. It's out for me. I
Yeah.
can't afford to go to like all the SPEs and stuff, right? So unless I do amazingly at what I can go to, like with no screw ups, right?
And they cut the BFLs down too. Like instead of 6 for cups like it was last season, it's 4. And instead of they lumped, I think ICs were lumped with regionals anyway last season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you have ICs lumped in with, I don't remember honestly. It's been a year. My brain is fried.
I think they were always together, but yeah.
But really, at that point, if SPEs are super heavy in points and ICs are super heavy in points theoretically, that's what you should be going to, not regionals, because these regionals are huge. They don't give you enough rounds to get a sufficient amount of points. I got 149th at San Antonio and I got 40 points. I didn't even day 2 at Puerto Rico and I got 80. Like that does not make any sense. That makes no sense at all.
Yeah,
and it's literally just because we could afford to go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of scaling process for sure. Now, the argument there is just that like SPEs don't have any cash payouts, so to a lot of people, it's like it's not worth it to them if they can't like cash the event, they can't win money, which is valid. But like if your ultimate goal is just getting an invite, cashing the event probably doesn't even matter to you anyways. My expectation going into this season is that SPs will, because of how well they did this past season, they will grow in size, which is good because it will make them more challenging. But I also think they are going to be a hotter commodity. I think a lot more people are going to be trying to go and get into those than this season. I think the only exception to that is going to continue to be the South Africa ones, because South Africa is very difficult and expensive to get to. People can't afford that, and then also not that only that, but like to get to Africa, there's no like direct flight, from the States to Johannesburg. You have to like go into London, and from London to Johannesburg and stuff like that. So like it's a long process, and then you lose like a day of just in traveling alone. So like people don't have the time like that and the money. So that's where like it becomes more pay to play, because if you have the time and money, then sure, that doesn't matter. I honestly feel like of all of the SPEs, and I can kind of say this from a first-hand experience, because I went to Buenos Aires because it was the same week. It was like the week before LAIC. It was $100 more for me to play a whole extra tournament. Made sense. I got to hang out with my boys. My teammate ended up winning the main event. I won their cup. And then I ended up I walked out of that weekend with 150 points between the main event and getting that last cup win I needed on the season. It's probably the hardest cup I had to win too, because I played against I beat the reigning world champion in Swiss. And then I hit like in top cut, I hit like 2 people that were in like top 64 of worlds in Hawaii. It's like it was probably the most stacked cup I went to, and I won. And then so that was pretty cool. But yeah, so I mean that event was like over 200 people. Actually, it was like 300, I think. Puerto Rico was around that same boat too. It was like about 300 people.
I think it was 299. Yeah.
Yeah. So but then you have South Africa, which is less than 100 people, and it's still giving out, regional level points. So like you have that same weekend. Yeah, that same weekend that the first Africa SPE happened, it was when I made day 2 at was it? I'm not sure if it was Mexico first, Portland. I think it was it was Portland. So somebody got 9th place. Going, who was it? Was it 4XX? They had 4 wins, and I had just went 5-2-1 to make day 2, and I went 2-2 in day 2 and got top 256. Meanwhile, this person only had to play out until they had 4 wins, and they got 9th place, got top 16 points.
Oh my God.
So
Sounds
that's
nice.
so when you look at something like that, that is just like drastically like broken. So I'm not sure what the answer is. The argument has been like region locking. I think that's just not good.
I don't think
shouldn't
that's the
even-
answer.
You don't want to discourage
never
people
gonna be
from
an
like
answer.
traveling. And then, but my thing was like, okay, well, either not region lock, but point lock the tournaments or
Mhm.
point scale them. Either one would be fine, because if someone is there for the love of the game and because they want to travel, then they should have no problem with either walking away with no points or walking with like a significantly like scaled down amount of points based on the attendance of the event. Either one of those options I'd be okay with.
This is actually reminding me of, this is something that I actually was like bitching and moaning about too. Like someone over a year ago now, I'm just remembering this. I got upset because someone I knew who lived in Europe would get like significantly less wins than me and get points and stuff. And so I remember saying that the points should be based off of your match points, not off of your placement. And if points are based off of match points, then it would fix the SPE issue. It would fix the regional issue. It would fix, the IC issue if ICs get, at least another extra round. But if your match points are actually dictating your CP that you're earning at these events instead of your placement, then I think things become much different, where it's like, okay, if I get 15 match points, I get 20 points. I'm just throwing a number out there. But like, then you know what your goal is if you need to get there, instead of it being like, well, I need to get to top, 32 to get these points, or else I just completely flop my season. And instead it's like, well, everyone who got the match points that would get them into the bubble of top 32 now are going to get those match points instead. And instead, the bubble doesn't matter as much. It just matters for prizing instead of your points. And to me, that seemed more correct. And I completely forgot about this until you just started talking about it. So that's my solution to that problem, is it should be based off of match points. It shouldn't be based off of our placements at all, because I do think that's highly unfair. And I think that if every single tournament followed that same structure, then we would probably see a lot of different mindsets coming into competitive play.
I think the problem with relying solely on that is that the match points do dictate your placement, and that's like, because when you're calculating if you can get into Top Cut or not, like you'll hear the players discussing how many match points you need. It's not so much about the placement, because especially with us having ASIM cut now, it really does matter how many match points you have. So in a sense, we kind of already have that. It's just that it's defined by the top 64, top 32, and unfortunately, like, the bubbles happen. Now, if we were to just say, okay, like if we were just going to extend that, where it's if you have the same match points as the 8th place, then you get to go into an ASIM top cut. I mean, if we were just to do that for all of the placements, like, hey, if you have the same match points as 64th place, you're going to get the same match points, or you're going to get the same championship points. I mean, that would be, I feel like that wouldn't harm the system. I mean, it's just probably just going to like even out the playing field as far as like the points people get. Bubbles, you kind of just eliminate bubbles completely if you're doing that. But I'm just not sure how, if at all, it will negatively affect like point totals in general. That'd be something I would actually be interested in seeing Pokemon experiment with potentially. but I couldn't see it really being much more different than just really eliminate. If you do that, you're just eliminating bubbles, like an ASIM basically, but for championship points at each of the major thresholds, whether that's top 32, 64, 128.
I think the bubble can still exist. I think the bubble can still exist so you can do top cut. I'm just saying for the match points, like, I mean, these bubbles are causing match point issue or are causing championship point issues, but I think for your placements, you should, I don't think I think the bubbles will still exist. And honestly, if your resistance is that good and you make it into top 8 or the asymmetrical cut, then that is what it is. There's going to be people who complain no matter what the system is, honestly, though.
Right, exactly.
Like, you're going to have the person who got 64th, and there are people who are all below them, and they're like, they're going to be like, this is bullshit, I can't believe this. I got the top.
Happens.
I got 64, and that would have gotten me like 20 extra championship points last season, and now I'm getting the same as the person who got 1/10 or something. I don't know. But people are going to whine no matter what. But if the championship point allocation is the issue right now for people getting into Worlds, and if that's becoming an issue with how top heavy everything is, to me that seems to just be the solution. But I don't know. Pokemon's going to listen to our podcast, so.
Oh, well, I mean, they're regular listeners. I think just all of these ideas and just how all of them have their validity just goes to show how complex this issue is. So I totally understand why it's not ironed out yet. All I can really hope for is that they try some new things this season and they learn from previous issues, which I feel like they've been doing a good job with. I know some things we would like them to learn quicker, but I think overall, I like them making the change to go back to 19 match point day 2s for round 9s. That, I think that goes to show they have a pulse. They are listening to us. They
Right.
care. They do. They're so I am really I'm looking forward to seeing what they implement this coming season, because I don't think they're going to change Zero. I do think they're listening, and I know I'm sounding wishful, but I feel like they've given us proof to go off of that too.
Definitely.
Yeah, but it's very complex. It's very complex, and that's, I think, again, why it's not perfect right now. It's going to take time. But I mean, definitely really good points with I mean, really everything that was brought up. I think the bubble debate it's interesting. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, the game has grown.
Go ahead. No, I was gonna move forward with something, but you should go.
Yeah, I mean, the guy with the extent that the game has grown, it's just unprecedented. So so they do have a lot to juggle. So I do give TPCI, a little bit of lax here, because you've seen your game. Even in my first season, it's quadrupled.
Yeah.
Attendance. Most tournaments were 500-600 my first season, and now we're pushing 1,500, 2,000 every event.
Yeah.
So it's tripled, quadrupled since over the past 2 to 3 years, and then them implementing this. The one thing that I do think that does need to change going forward, though, it makes no sense to me that our player base, I feel, is a lot more competitive than other rating zones and a lot larger. So I do think that we should be having more of a 150 top 150 ish. And then also it does make no sense that ours, the stipend and travel awards, it's top 16 for us, but it's top 22 for EU, which makes no sense to me as well, because especially for those guys that are up there, because I'm in a lot of the circles where I hear the top guys that are competing for these stipends and travel awards, where it's just dude, why does EU have top 22 and we have 16?
It makes no sense.
So that definitely, I feel like we need to probably be extended down to a top 22 for this travel award and stipend. And I think that even seeing this bubble that's happening right now that we don't know what's going on with, I think extending it down to the 150 is probably going to be needed, and a very, very specific tiebreaker process if there is multiple
Mhm.
people at that 150 or the 125th spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's actually where I was heading for, actually, is the 120 top 125 problem, which we saw today. There are people who have bubbled out of that spot, actually. So I just wanted to see what everyone.
As far as we know,
Yeah,
anyway.
so far, yeah.
I believe what it says is it like would go by play points, but it also says like basically maybe.
Yeah, it's so ambiguous that we don't know what's going on with it, because I've seen people saying like, hey, no, there's like a precedent set that was everybody that's at tied with 125 is going to get an invite, and then there's other ones that's like, well, no, they kind of hinted that it's going to be off of play points, and you're already like, there's not like everybody at 700 doesn't say like 125 125 125, you are 125 126, so that's like, oh well, that's not even a sign. It looks like I'm bubble out at 126, and I have no explanation if it's play points or not. So that honestly feels bad. Like I feel really bad for like all those guys there. And like I mentioned earlier, like if I would have got the 20 points I was shooting for, I would be in that bubble, like on my knees praying to big Pikachu to like let me in,
Let me in.
So it feels bad.
That's also a pay to play thing too, because the play points are based on how many tournaments you go to. If you go to a lot of regionals, you get 3. So you'd either have to go to a lot of locals, and that's a lot of locals to keep up with that, or you are paying to go to lots of regionals, and that is where your play points come from. So I mean, that's also a thing with the pay to play argument too. And I'm not sure if I even agree with the top 125 thing. I like the point threshold a lot better.
I was
personally.
Gonna ask for everyone's opinions on that. Like, as people that have chased, worlds, Dre as somebody that's made worlds in the old system, like, what are your thoughts in general on the top X over the threshold?
This top X kind of sucks because it makes it doesn't allow you to like get to your goal and then like maybe go enjoy something else. Like actually one of the main things that I was looking forward to before they announced the system change was like, you know what? I know my skill level is getting 600 points. I can get that. Last year I got it done by mid-season. I had my invite by January. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I bet you I can probably do something similar. I can go into this coming season, get to my 600, and that will allow me to like do other things. Like I really wanted to, like I mentioned earlier, I played professional football. I'm now in Florida. There are a lot of like semi-pro leagues out here, and it would have been really cool to like take a break from Pokemon and go play like some semi-pro football and like go back to
that would
another.
Been so cool.
Have another. They go back to another game and like enjoy it more as a hobby that I enjoy. And also keep me in shape and stuff like that. So, and that was like a thing I wanted. I was like, you know what? Yeah, let me do that. I'm gonna go get my invite, go super hard, and then by springtime, I'll probably take it a little slower. Go to NAIC at the end of the season, but like get to go back to a sport and game that I love outside of Pokemon. It's just like now because of this, I'm like, well, as soon as they announce that, I'm like, well, there goes that hope. Because regardless of how well I'm doing, unless I win a major, like I'm going to have to compete year round because I'm going to have to stay in the chase and stay in the hunt year round, which it kind of just takes away from if you're not Pokemoning all the time, then you're probably not going to get there. So it kind of takes away from your opportunity of doing anything that's non-Pokemon related throughout the year. So that's kind of one of my issues. But then also there's the other things, like there's people that want to have like having a set goal instead of a moving target is another thing. But then the counter to this is that there are a lot of players that have been around longer than I have. They've gone to Worlds a lot and they've just seen Worlds get bigger, and they say they want more exclusive Worlds because it should be only the best of the best there. And I can understand where they're coming from a competitive standpoint. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
However, my rebuttal to that is if you are the best of the best, you will be there no matter what. And if you are the best, and
Yeah.
you will beat the players that may not be the best that they qualify, and you should be in day 2, and you should be competing to win the world championship. I don't think the amount of players that's there is really going to affect that. Sure, you can say, well, that increases my chance of hitting variance against maybe not as good players, is the argument I've heard to that. And, I think that's kind of like, I've been told my stance on going to more SPEs and stuff like that is like a bad competitive mindset. If your competitive mindset is, well, like, I don't want to lose to a lesser person because they get better variance against me in a best of 3 8-round tournament, that's a terrible competitive
Yeah.
state of mind to have, in my opinion. It's like, why,
Real.
if you are the best, like you think and say you are, you should be able to compete and win the world championship no matter who's sitting across from you, no matter who's at that tournament.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I think no matter how you look at it, there's always going to be an argument on either side of it. It's just like none of these systems are going to be perfect, and someone's going to always have something to complain about. Always. We're human. It's the way the world works. It's just how it's going to be. But to me, I've never had like a horse in the race of, oh, it should be more exclusive, or it was fine before. Tell me the system I have to compete in, and sure, I'm going to go do it. Now, if I could have my say, I'd say have the threshold. I don't care if there's 200 people from North America there. If they all get there, cool. It's just a bigger tournament. It's more fun. I have I enjoy Worlds. Every Worlds I went to, it was awesome because it felt like, leading up to the tournament, I was testing a lot with my friends, but like I got to be in new places with my friends. Like Japan was insane. I got to go with my team, go looking at like the temples and trying new food and going to the different Pokemon centers. And then I never been to Hawaii, so I got to go spend like day on the beach with like some of my friends, and go to the aquarium and stuff like that. Also, while like grinding between doing the little side quests. So I feel like it's having more people there is just going to increase the fun that most people will have, the enjoyment of the event itself. So that's kind of, I feel like going into this Worlds, but I won't be there to confirm it. I feel like it's going to be something that's missing because as many people will not be going, even as like a spectator. So I think we just need to. I think I would go back to the threshold personally. Top X, I like the way it's pushed competitively. The competitive side, it's definitely made it a lot, more cutthroat and, stronger competition. And like Nicole mentioned, like we've seen that increase from last year to this year, and I can definitely attest to that. I do still think there's still a gap. I mean, I've had a ton of 3-0, 4-0 starts this year because my first 3 to 4 rounds are usually like less experienced, more often than not, less experienced.
You're more likely to run into those types of people.
So, but then I am then again, at the level that I play at, it's not very average. So, I'd say I'm probably like in a 5. I'm not the top 1%, but I'm probably like in that top 5% of players as far as skill level goes. And so hitting the other 95%, I should be winning those first couple rounds more times than not. But everybody else that's in that less like 95%, those first 3 rounds are sweatier. How it is. And then so it's definitely interesting to see how the Top X format has changed competition. And then we're just in this day and age where information is everywhere. You have top players giving away their deck lists on their Metafy, going over master classes and stuff like that. You have someone like Azul who will hop on his stream, build his exact 60 on stream, tell you I am playing this weekend, and he is not meta manipulating. He's like, he shows up to that tournament with that 60. Like he does it. He did it in Mexico and then won the whole thing.
And then won.
And so that access to the information and stuff like that is just, also just going to increase the overall difficulty. Because even your average player now, I've seen it in the past 2 years, has jumped. Like my average opponent is like misplaying less. They are understanding their lines a little bit more. So my margin for error is a lot smaller now than it was like in my first year, when I felt like I put a lot into the game and I put myself instantly into like the top percentile. Now it's gotten a lot closer. And it's because people know, hey, for top X, I have to grind more. I have to put more into it. I do like the rising competition, but I don't think we would really lose that if we got the threshold. I don't see that really dropping off
I
more
agree.
because as tournaments,
Yeah.
even as these tournaments have grown to like 2,000, 3,000 for the ICs, it's like you still have to grind. Like you're not going to be guaranteed like getting championship points. So if you're
Yeah.
not putting in those hours, you're going to get washed out of the tournament, regardless of what the qualification system is. So I think the top X was cool. I'd like to see it go back to a threshold. I'm more for an open worlds. I want to see more people because that very first season when I was at Fresno, I knew that if I got top 16 there, that was it. Got my invite. If I didn't, I would want, I would have to have like a decent showing at NAIC, and then I'd have my invite. I felt like pretty comfortable though because I had 2 tournaments, but like that feeling when the final rankings hit, I went 4-1 in day 2. I hit 16th on the dot, got my invite. Like I don't think I felt like I was pushed to like misty eyes, and because I'd seen how much like my whole season on a shortened season, like very limited. Like the locals were only there for like the last quarter or something like that.
Yeah.
I had just started that November was my first major, and now I'm going to be going to the World Championship. So like getting that, like, having that storyline and stuff like that, like I remember how that felt to this day, and I still get emotional thinking about it because that was just like such a huge accomplishment for me, and I want that for other people. I like that feeling of I put in that work and I got there is amazing, and I think that top X system is kind of taking away that opportunity from a lot of people. I don't see the harm in having a 200 person NA, however many it is, everyone else, but 200 people from NA. If that's like, because I think realistically with the threshold, that's what it was last year. It was like
And not
200.
all those people can afford to go
I
to the
think
World Championships then too, even if they make it.
That's a fair point.
So my thing is that I don't see why we wouldn't.
Yeah, no, and there was an interesting point brought up earlier. So the whole idea of like a more exclusive worlds, right? I think you and I are kind of on the same page. Like I've appreciated the higher competition, and that higher competition has made me become a better player. And I know that cycle will continue, and that'll happen for everybody, and we're all just going to improve and help each other improve through competition. But
Hopefully.
a more exclusive worlds, to me, like I feel like the conversation has become polarized, and not here, but just in the community in general, where this top X system equals more exclusive worlds. Whereas I think we could have a threshold, and that threshold would just be a bit higher than 600, and the world's experience would be a bit more exclusive. Realistically, it seems like maybe a threshold of anywhere from 700 to 650 this year would have created that environment of being more exclusive. So I still think that there's a way, and in my perfect, if I had my utopia, I would have a higher threshold than 600. I understand not wanting to have like, again, tons of people at Worlds. I do appreciate your point about just like the environment at Worlds, and I can't speak to that yet, and I'm hoping this coming season is going to be the year. um but I've heard that, like it's just a different feeling, and that makes sense. I think if you have less people, you're going to have less of that feeling. That makes sense too. And so I think striking a balance in this is going to be the key. And it's a bit disappointing actually that I've seen the conversation in the community become so black and white, because I don't think the answer is going to be black and white. I do think it's going to be gray.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my take. I think if I had it my way, I mean, I know we both would have still whiffed the invite. I think the 700 number seemed to be perfect. It kind of accomplished like the
Seems
whole
about what that is anyway,
Yeah.
right?
right. Like, but right now we're sitting at a point where those people who hit 700 are like, I don't know, like, and that to me, like, that's insanity. Like, I can't imagine being in their shoes.
And
And
also, it would have been nice at the beginning of the season to know, okay, so 700.
right.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest issue. Like, putting the whole like exclusivity aside, putting all of that away, just the So I mean, I knew going into this season I was going to make a push. I still remember the day vividly where I got the news like this whole system's going to be different. And honestly, I feel myself getting emotional because I remember how upsetting that was to me. Like knowing like I have this opportunity in front of me and I mean, I was half the player then as I am now, I feel like. And truthfully, I wasn't as confident in myself. And I heard that news and I was like, what am I going to do? And now, the decision was I still pushed and, I rose to the
Yeah.
challenge as much as I could. And I'm proud of that. But yeah, not having that set target, that was not great for the mental competitively. And maybe like, I know some people, the rebuttal would be like, well, that's something like you have to be able to like fight through. And like, I can respect that. And I think like a lot of people did this year. And I think I did a pretty damn good job of it. I still think having the threshold is just better competitively. You have that set goal. We don't need to be doing math outside of tournaments to figure out where the numbers are that we
Yeah.
need to hit.
Yeah.
We should just be testing because then
Right.
we
I mean,
get better Pokemon.
it's a
Yeah.
lot harder to shoot a target you can't see.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
I
And
mean, if we're
you
going,
know, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah,
I was just gonna say you said something about storylines, which I really like that actually. The storyline is like such a important part of this game, I think.
right,
Exactly.
Mhm.
It just the storyline, we don't know the story if we have a system like this right now. Because we have so many people hanging by a thread right now, or some people's stories are just cut short because of a bad run. Whereas, like, if
Light
it
points.
was, because yeah, if it was the threshold instead, people would know or they wouldn't know, and then they could
Yeah.
say their story is, this is my story of that season. And it's a great story that you have, Dre, about your first season, and it's like, you don't get that with this season. Instead,
Yeah,
you're
no.
Much.
yeah. So, and Pokemon used to be really into the storylines and stuff, especially with the casting perspective and everything. But I think part of the reason that they're making this so exclusive is also because that I don't think that Pokemon doesn't care about competitors, but I think they care about the people who are spectating more partially, and a way to make more room in that convention center for the spectators is to have less competitors.
Yeah.
Right,
Because
naturally.
spectators
There's fun.
spend the money.
Exactly. I mean, even if I pulled up like last year's leaderboards, if the based off of like if they wanted a more exclusive world, like we got top 125.
Mhm.
If the threshold was 700, but you also have to take in account that the points have been inflated from last season to
Yeah.
this season.
Yeah.
So 700 actually is probably just as I would say the translation would be like it's probably 650 last
Mhm.
season is equivalent to 700 this year.
Yeah.
So going off of that,
Yeah.
and the people 650 was the person that got the last person with 650 points last year was 148. That was literally basically a top 150. If we went to a top
Wow.
150 this year, I think it'd probably be a very similar. You'd have the similar
Yeah.
like regulars. There's enough space for like some newer people to potentially squeeze in and qualify. If you would have just made the threshold 650,
Yeah.
or if you would have made it 700, you would have been exactly at your 125 anyways. I will give them that maybe this top X system may have been just because they weren't sure how the inflation of points was going to affect the finishes. They couldn't figure out how it was going to allocate because there's people that are going to be cannibalizing points because it's going to be those same guys finishing in the top, so there's going to be lost owning those points after their BFLs are maxed and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So I feel like a lot of those variables are hard for Pokemon to like calculate. So going with a top X system, as they were just like unveiling this new championship point system that's supposed to help these bigger tournaments, I think I can understand why they did this year. Now going into next season, they know if they don't change the way they've structured the points payouts, which I think the point payout is fine. I think them fixing it mid-season, tweaking it, and scaling it has been fine. It's been solid.
Yeah.
The day 2 qualifications and match points, it's fine. It's solid. The one extra round in day 2 would be a simple fix because they do have that. It's like an invisible top 32 ASIM cut round that's
Yeah.
there, but we
Mhm.
have not used it, not once.
Yeah.
even with the extended, even with them making day 2 bigger by making it easier to qualify, we have not used it once. So instead, they should just cut that invisible round and just make it a 5-round day 2 into an ASIM top cut, ASIM top 16. And that would be so. But I think going into this year, maybe going back to a threshold and just making it 650, 675, or 700, whatever it is, based on how many people they're trying to have get there. I think having that just solid finish, like threshold, is what we need. Because it was not fun. It was nobody.
No.
Every single person like worrying event to event. Am I getting jumped? Am I getting passed? Even me, like I was in that, and it was really stressful, and it was not fun. And like I didn't get to go. I couldn't really enjoy anything else as much if I would have got there earlier. Which is like I think that potential is also something that it should be looked into. Like you should want people to play your game, but God, people need to have lives outside of Pokemon. And I feel like you have less ability to do that. With the moving target. I mean, if we're looking at these invites, the 150 would be fine. 150 is about 700 anyways.
Yeah.
So make the goal 700, make it the threshold, and just go from there.
Yeah. I think that would just allow, I don't know, a lot more peace of mind for a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people have had sleepless nights, especially in this last week, about the points and everything. I mean, I don't know really why they did the top 125. They tried to balance it, more points, but less BFLs and things like that. And part of me is like, well, is the Anaheim Convention Center just like smaller? And that's why they decided to do this, I'm not sure really, but I remember last year I competed a bit. I got 300 points. It was my first ever competitive season, even though I've been keeping up with the game since like 2013. And like I was like surprised at myself that I got halfway to a Worlds invite with just what I was doing, and I was like, oh, that'd be cool to chase it. And I remember I was in Italy on vacation when they dropped that they're going to do 125, and I was just like, well, it's chalked, I can't do that. I don't have the money for that.
So I looked it up. The Anaheim Convention Center can hold over 10,000 people. So
yeah,
not that
I know it was an incorrect thought as a thought.
Well, no, I think that is actually like not very big compared to other venues that we've been to, actually, because that's 10,000 people sounds like a lot, but considering that all of our games are there, trading card game, video game, Go, and Unite, we have all 4 of our games there. Plus, you have all the different age divisions. Plus, every single person has like a +2 for their spectators.
Yeah.
So that doesn't leave that much room for paid spectator passes if we were to have that same system.
Yeah. So maybe it was because the convention centers are smaller.
I could see it being because the centers they wanted to have them in these cities, but they didn't.
Look up San Francisco right now.
Yeah, San Francisco. I can tell you, it's not a very big venue. San Francisco itself is very, very packed.
Oh, they're gonna give us a top 80.
I was gonna try and manifest like that. I was gonna try and manifest a new system for I was hoping San Francisco would be bigger, but nope, maybe not. Okay.
Nah, I'm from the Bay Area, so I can tell you it's not that massive.
Oh,
okay.
So unfortunately.
That's sad.
Everyone get ready for the more competitive season.
Yeah.
I couldn't see the top X being like even tighter. I don't think they'll go below 125.
No,
that would be actually insane. I think that would just make so many people quit right then and there. Though a lot of people did quit once the top 125 was announced. I mean, there was a slew of posts on Twitter of everyone just being like,
I forgot about that.
I'm not going to compete this year. I'm just going to play for fun.
Yeah.
And
I know
like
personally,
too.
Like at least 3 or 4 people that just didn't play this season. Now that you bring that up,
I just remember that like just so many people were upset about it. And
I've just seen a lot of people tap out mid-year. Tap out. There's like, I can't compete in this, and they stopped going to events.
Yeah. I think that was like one of the more telling things this season, as far as like just an indication that people were not having a good time. And yeah, I noticed that too. Like just a lot of faces stopped showing up to events. Yeah, even locally, truthfully.
Yeah.
Locals that happened, and that is really sad. Truthfully.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, my local shrank.
Yeah.
It is so
Oh,
sad.
mine are dead.
Yeah.
I don't even
My
want to say they shrank. They're dead.
my one
Yeah.
shop is just dead. I feel like it's me and like two other people show up now, all, like consistently, and it's sad. It's just so sad. Because the game was growing so well, and everyone thought that they had a chance, and now it's like, well, no, you don't have a chance. Actually, only 125 people do, and you're definitely not one of those. So
Yeah, if your wallet's not as fat as like a good portion of that 125, you're probably not going to be in it,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
yeah, and with the local BFLs shrinking as well, that doesn't
That
help
doesn't
either.
help either.
Because
Yeah, no.
yeah, which I personally don't agree with it just being so tiny at this
Yeah,
point.
like I understand why they did it. Like they want that was, again, in my eyes, like more of a push for a more exclusive worlds. But I still think Pokemon should have valued their local scene more than they did this season. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, if they're gonna keep the top 125 or top 80 or whatever,
You need to
the,
stop
Yeah,
speaking that
stop
into
saying
existence.
that, please.
manifesting, you guys are gonna kill me
Stop
when
saying
when when at the end of Worlds they announce that, and you guys are gonna light me alive. But no, but I think that if they're gonna do that again, they should open locals up more as an out to get points. I'm okay with the 6 cups coming in. I'm okay with 300 of your points being from locals, honestly, because let's be real, it is a pay to play at this point, and I should be able to drive like 2 hours and get at least half my points done, and then I spend the rest of my money on going to regionals or SPEs or ICs or whatever, and get those other half, or even more than that. I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for that, and some people, disagree with that. But our local scenes are dying entirely, and I mean, I wrote a whole article about this months ago, but it's causing like a complete infrastructure collapse in the scene. The scalpers are now just like running rampant in the stores. You have problems with prize packs. Pokemon isn't even like one of my stores. They don't even get their shipment half of the time, and Pokemon's like, oh well. And it is, or they get it a month late. They got their pre-release like standees and everything a month late from them. Like, so I don't know. It just feels like they've thrown locals to the side, and it's really sad. And I don't know if it's just to push for that exclusivity, but it's pretty much like killed the grassroots of their scene entirely, and I don't think that's fair. And if the trade-off is that some people get to Worlds, had maxed out their cups, and then they just squeaked by in regionals, then so be it. That is what it is sometimes. Like, hey, if you're that good of a player, like Dre said, then you should be able to beat those people, right? So
Real.
Yeah.
I don't know. Have we exhausted this topic?
I think we like really hit everything. I think like we discussed like a wide range of topics within this. Like obviously, like this was like an umbrella of like ideas. I feel like we did a really good job at like hitting all of the points of it. Yeah, I think if we do the FCBC little shtick, and then
I was gonna say, it's time, isn't it, for FCBCs?
Yep.
Okay,
It's
so
always time.
we've exhausted all topics except for the best one, which is FCBCs. FCBC armor, these sleeves are amazing. Here's the thing, is that they look bad when they're up against the plastic, but you take them out and they're actually beautiful. FCBCs have been so good. I took them to NAIC, and I had zero problems with these, actually. None ripped, and I am a very aggressive shuffler. Had no splits, no anything. I took the yellows. I don't have the yellow box with me. It's still in my luggage, actually.
You like the yellows?
I love the yellows. I love the yellows. I love the oranges. I love the reds. I love all of the colors. They have a wide selection. They feel good. They shuffle great. They last long. FCBC Armor. Please go buy them. They are amazing. Great sleeves. You will love them. I promise you'll love them. And if not, then Jake will send you another box to convince you. So
Probably.
Yeah, and they also have binders and hopefully deck boxes soon.
Their binders are fantastic. Real talk. I actually do. Their binders are great. I like their binders a lot.
Yeah,
Yone
so-
is an ambassador for FCBC, and we do have a binder that we use. I haven't got to use the sleeves now as a free agent. I will be. I have opened, like I said, part of my DM's blowing up. I have every major sleeve company
You've
in
got
the
every
game.
sleeve ever.
Yeah, so I've
saw
got like
they were trying to hook
four.
you up on your thread.
I've
too.
got I've got like 4 different care packages coming in, so I'm gonna be doing like my own kind of testing with the sleeves themselves. But what I can attest to is that the binder for SBCs are definitely, I can say, really nice quality, heavy duty. Because we have our Crown Zenith master set we're putting in that, and it's really awesome.
Wow. That's awesome.
Oh, that's amazing.
Well, you're going to try these and you're going to love these and you're going to throw all the other boxes out. So,
Yeah, all right.
I mean, he might be able to try them this weekend. I believe you're going to Rose.
Yeah, I'll be really, so that'll probably be like my first. I'm sure I walk into the building, I'm gonna get handed a box of FCBCs.
I can guarantee you, Brian will do that. Actually.
Yes. Our players who are going are vlogging, so if you want to jump in for maybe a little bit, then that would be really cool. So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, let them know if they want to come talk to me. They can come up talk to me.
Jake is right there.
I was going to say that'll be me. I'm the camera guy.
Yeah. I'm there. It's between rounds. I'm not doing it. I'm down. I'm always.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm always one for the camera, man.
Well, I think that's all we got. Thank you, everyone.
Is there anything else anyone wanted to say about their season?
Well, I just wanted to say.
Chalked.
I did want to say, obviously taking on, my new role at, Team Girl Power. I'm not going to be on this podcast quite as much. I just wanted to genuinely thank everybody. I mean, I've just grown so much as a human in the time that I've been with TBG. This team is filled with beautiful people, beautiful souls, and I'm, just very thankful for my time here. And definitely keep supporting my crew here. They're going to be doing great things. And I also wanted to thank Dre for coming on to the podcast. It was very cool having you on.
Oh yeah.
I hope you enjoyed it too. I think your insight was very valuable to this conversation, and we greatly appreciate your time for sure.
Of course. I appreciate you guys having me. It was a really good conversation, really good group of people to sit down and talk with. Last words on my season is, I had probably one of the tougher seasons I've ever had, and I just came one step short. So as far as anybody out there that's, thinking that they can't compete, they're not, they're not in there, I overcame a lot this year. I had a 3-year relationship that ended very, very publicly and not very nicely. And it caused a huge rift in my local scene, and I was able to I went, stuck, put my head down, played. I moved across the country, got engaged, just a whole lot of like huge life events. I went through, if anybody keeps up with my Twitter, I went through a dispute with my own parent, my own mother, where I had to fight tooth and nail to get the rights to my brother's gravesite just to put a headstone there, because she's struggling with addiction ever since he passed away. So like this year has been the heaviest as far as outside of Pokemon. It definitely messed with like my prep and stuff like that. And I was still just right there, came just shy. So I understand if you're out there, you're struggling, you have life going on, and you really want to chase, give it your all, go for it, and then when I can speak on is like, there's no storm that you can't get through. Whatever it is you're struggling with, just, persevere. It's easy to want to quit. It's easy to want to give up, but you gotta be stronger than that. And, going into this next season, I will be a lot stronger. I will be a lot better, and I look forward to it. So this season has probably just opened up my eyes to a lot of different things as far as a competitor and just as a person.
We look forward to seeing your story next time. So
Yeah,
you
and
know,
and
that's
honestly, like what you said is truly inspirational, Dre. I
Mhm.
mean, you did have a lot go on this season. I follow you, I have for a while, and I think the fact that you hit 680 points this year, your best season through all that, you have a lot to be proud of. And I know you're not satisfied. Neither of us are satisfied, but
Exactly.
that's what's going to make us great. So
Definitely.
I appreciate you saying that. And again, I appreciate your time on this show here.
Yeah.
And I just to give one final thought to my season too. I I'll just be blunt. I am not the same person now that I was a year ago. And to take on this season while going through my transition, it's been so surreal. It's been so like existentially strange, because I don't even have the same name, and it's been beautiful. I'm not the same player that I was. I'm not the same human. And I again just want to express gratitude to everybody who's supported me through this.
Yeah.
My family has been amazing. My partner has been amazing, Hannah. And again, the community has embraced me in ways that I really couldn't have even imagined. So I just want to express my deepest gratitude, truthfully. And again, like, I think Dre, you're an inspiration to this community. I think you're going to keep doing great things, and I think TBG is going to keep doing great things too.
I mean, I don't
Right.
know. They have a new manager, and that manager loves us. So
It's true. It's true. I don't want to bring that up, but it's your problem now.
It'll be good. I'll do a good job. Don't worry. Don't worry.
Yes.
So, all right. Okay. That's enough. We're at an hour and a half. So anyway, yes, Trey, thank you so much for being on here.
course.
It's been
Seriously, man.
awesome. Nicole, thank you for being on here as now a guest. So, and Jake, thank you as always as
Yeah,
my
it
fellow
was
co-host. I love
super
you all.
difficult for me to appear, so thank you.
Yeah,
for
I
that.
know. Yeah, you had to get out of bed. But yeah, thank you so much. And thank you, all of our listeners and watchers. Find all of the links below in the description. And give us a follow. And you definitely want to give a follow because you want to see how Nicole and Dre's season goes in this upcoming one. So yeah.
If anyone's motivated to kick ass next season, it's these two right here.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
seriously.
Definitely.
I can't wait to see it. So,
So,
all right. Well,
yeah.
thank you so much and see you later.
Peace out.